So what is good food? Is it about how good it tastes, how tempting it looks, or about the energy, immunity, strength, and longevity it provides all of us with? Take a step towards understanding how food is being grown today. Who grew my food? Where did he grow it? On what soil did he grow it? What did he use on that soil when he was growing the food that my family is now eating? Can we ask these questions and can we try to understand food at a deeper level? We are very happy to launch Good Food Talks, a series of conversations with prominent personalities of society, but more importantly, a series of conversations with conscious customers. How do they think about food? Where do they get it from? What are some strict no-nos in their kitchen and what are some of the indulgences? We'll be speaking about all this and more. Join me in welcoming our very first guest, Nithin Kamath, founder and CEO of Zerodha. Aside from revolutionizing the stock trading industry in India with Zerodha, Nithin is also an advocate of healthy living and good food habits. Additionally, he's the founder of Rainmatter Capital, which supports climate startups among other sectors. We're very humbled and happy to have Rainmatter as our investor. Let's hear it from Nithin.
We're here today to speak to you about Good Food Movement. As a part of Good Food Movement, what we try to do is to connect people to the source of food, because we feel like when people are more connected to the source of food, they'll ask the right questions, and they will force, when they ask right questions, they'll force brands to take the right steps towards the well-being of them and their families.
Right.
So thank you for
thanks for having me on this, and this is a topic very close to my heart as well.
You know, the quality of food that is available today. You know, there are a lot of nutritionists who are saying this now, that grandparents were eating one apple.
Right.
We now need to eat 4 apples to make up for
Right.
the nutrition that you would have otherwise gotten from one apple. So what do you think went wrong in this process?
When we were talking to someone who runs a poultry, a very interesting thing he said about the nutrition in the eggs. Like, you would not assume that how nutrition in the eggs has got to do with soil, right? Because it's the hen pecking on the soil, because apparently a lot of nutrients get into the body and then which comes with the eggs, right? So which is not happening today, right? So it's just, it's quite scary if you think about all of this, like where we are heading. But if you see the agricultural practices, right? I mean, the soil quality is so bad. Through the foundation, we work in the climate change space and we interact with so many people, and it's just degraded. Continuous use of pesticides and fertilizers and constant tilling of the land. You keep letting go of nutrients, right? I mean, I think the problem in life, right, around us, even as a business, even as humans, is that we always have, things that you can do right for the long run and things you can do for the short run, and we generally inherently always tend to do what's right for the short run, right? It's like that, like for a farmer, he just cares about the next cycle, right? He wants food on the table for the next cycle. So he's going to do what is right for the next cycle, which is causing long-term damage to the soil.
So do you see it getting fixed?
It's unlikely that it's going to fix quickly, right? But I think it's about asking the right questions, right? For example, I now question the source of my food everywhere. I walk into a restaurant, I want to know where he's getting the vegetables from,
really?
Right? Yeah, I mean,
you're asking him that?
Yeah, I am. Because places where I know the chef, I'm very curious to know where he gets his cheese from, where he gets his oil from, because it's just everything. Because I know that if I ask these questions, he's now under pressure, right? And you need to create pressure. I mean, the only way I think change will happen is people start asking the right kind of questions, and there's also a reason why I think I'm quite vocal about health and etc. is because the whole idea is that you need to build public pressure for people to make the change. Otherwise, everyone will keep prioritizing what is for the short run, and maybe it has to come from top of the food cycle. It's very hard for these kind of questions to be asked by the masses. So I think people who can, it should probably start from the top 1 to 5% of this country, and probably, that's where the leverage is, right? That's where, I mean, it's kind of sad, but the economic power there in the top 1 to 5% of this country can really potentially make for changes. So, but it's really complex, right? It's going to take long period of time. I mean, we're already seeing in pockets. I mean, like an Akshayakalpa as a brand existing and doing well is a sign of good times.
I remember you telling Shashi that till you started interacting with Akshayakalpa, you never stopped to think about milk.
Yeah, milk was never like I maybe the color of milk, it just makes you feel like, oh, it's all clean behind, it's just the whiteness of it. No, but yeah, it's actually, like I said, it was not just milk, that getting into the rabbit hole of, oh, I need to figure out how this is sourced, has led me to like a whole bunch of things, and maybe to 10 investments that we've done after that.
So what is organic to you? I know you
Right.
touched upon this topic a little,
Right.
But what is it to you?
I mean, as little chemicals or external agents as possible. I mean, if someone's using treated water on your vegetables, it's a problem, So, and especially when we know the quality of treatment of water in some of these places. So I think it's just to say, as much you have 10 options, pick up the options with the least least chemical residue possible as such, because sometimes you can't, like, if I'm traveling, I have to stop in a restaurant and eat. So I'm not gonna say, like, I don't eat in restaurants, right? As in, at least I'll sit in a dhaba, is the palak paneer, I know it's complete green color, but I'm going to compromise and eat it once in a while. But the idea is to avoid it as much as possible.
So, like you said, you've been thinking a lot about food. So tell us, like, what do you think about the quality of the food that we're getting today?
No, I think it started actually with Akshayakalpa itself, right? As in, when I first started talking to Shashi is when he kind of put this question of, do you know where your milk is sourced from? I mean, I don't really drink milk, but I love my curds, as in, like a South Indian boy, like I can't stay without my curd rice. And so I think that took me through the rabbit hole of actually doing some research around how my milk is, where my milk comes from. And then, I was quite shocked. It led me to poultry, very shocked. Then it led me to fruits and vegetables, and finding metals and etc. And I think quite shocked there as well. It's also personally, I think, as I've grown older, my own health and fitness goals have changed over time. Today, I think of my health and fitness as, humans are going to live much longer than what they did previously, right? As in, life expectancy is going up. So, today it's 70 years in India. Maybe by the time I'm 70, it'll probably be 90, right? And in my head, my health and fitness framework is around, I want to kind of, life's like a marathon and I want to finish it strong. I've realized that my sleep is a subset of nutrition, because the kind of food I eat is really what determines the quality of sleep I'm having.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely. As in, if I'm eating, like, while I'm not gluten intolerant, but if I eat a lot of, processed foods, I find it really hard to sleep, right? A lot of people think having a drink before sleeping helps you sleep, but I have measured my sleep after drink. It ruins your sleep. You feel like you're sleeping, but you're not. It's actually a bad quality of sleep. So actually, what goes into your body really determines all kind of outcomes. So as a younger guy, I had a lot of vanity goals, right? I mean, like, I need to look a certain way, but then, it's very similar to how in a business, if you make your business a lot about making money, you compromise on a lot of decisions, right? Even with your body, I think if you make it about looking good, your decisions, you're going to end up doing, some random diet plan, which you're not going to stick to, or you'll probably try to supplement with things which are not good for you, right? So now that my framework has changed, I'm like, every time I'm eating, I'm questioning, is it good for my body in the long run? Automatically, I think, my fitness levels also has gone up significantly. I feel fitter than what I've ever been historically, even though I'm much older than than what I was 10 years back. And also we run Rainmatter Health, where we are trying to kind of partner with startups, helping Indians make healthier choices and making some of these conversations more mainstream. Because, like you rightly said, if the right questions are asked, brands will do the right thing, right? If the questions are not right, businesses will take you for granted. right? And so I think this has to be like a more mainstream conversation. And thanks for doing this.
How involved are you in the food choices that happen in your house? And when I say food, I'm not talking about like ordering in or but the ingredients, like the oil, like you said, or the tur dal or the milk, for example. How involved are you in those choices?
Yeah, no, I'm quite involved, and I mean, see, the thing is, like, I've had a decent financial outcome in life, so there is a chef at home, like a cook at home who takes care of it. But it took me a while to tell him, what is good, what is not good, right? I mean, how much oil should be used, what kind of oils to be used, and well, his intent is to make the food as good and tasty as possible. Also, just to talk about portion sizes, right? As in, like, because if you're eating less, the cook doesn't, like, anyone who's cooking, right? They want their cooked food to be, like, people gorging on it, right? And yeah, you have to be completely full, like, there should be nothing left on the plate or the vessel of sorts. So, no, I think I'm involved in the decision to source everything in the kitchen right now, along with Seema as well. Seema, both me and Seema are quite health conscious, so, and we hardly ever eat out. I think one of the big issues, I think, when it comes to food is eating packaged food and eating out, right? And we absolutely avoid it as much as possible. And,
yeah. What are weekends like?
I mean, I don't know if it's the right thing to say, but we're mostly at home. But yeah, so everything from dals to flour to milk to poultry to vegetables. I found sources now where I think the food comes from. One of the things that we were actually, one of our teammates was saying that, Nithin, maybe you should share a list of everywhere you source this from. So on our website or something like that. So I'll probably put it on our on our forum.
So, and what filters do you apply when you're making these choices? Like,
when this whole Akshayakalpa conversation started happening, we started getting milk tested. I mean, this was more out of the business interest, but even with fruits and vegetables, randomly we've taken things and gotten it tested to see the pesticide or any kind of residue in the food. Now, over time, asking the right kind of questions, I've ended up becoming friends to a bunch of people who are solving for some of these problems. Like, there's a startup that we're investing in who's in Delhi, who makes wheat flour, and I mean, it's quite crazy. I mean, the science behind wheat flour, as in, I didn't know that, so when you take the kernel and when you grind it, the more pressure you put, the more nutrient it loses. Right, so your traditional wheat flour machines, they just put so much of brute force that the kernel actually loses all the nutrients. It actually even loses gluten, and then they artificially put gluten, because gluten is what brings the taste of wheat, and so you have all these emulsifiers and put into it afterwards to bring back the taste of wheat, right? So your traditional chakki was actually better, because if you remember, so we had to put it 2 or 3 times. The kernel had to be sent through the whole process 2 or 3 times for it to actually become. So you're not really using as much of brute force. So yeah, these guys have figured out a science, technology where they just use optimal amount of force to retain as much of nutrients as possible. I'm really like, whatever is mass market product and done at an industrial scale, I usually now I try to stay away from it.
So is there anything from the supermarket that you?
No, nothing at all. I mean, it's just that anything that's done at large scale, there are some compromises being done at the back end in this.
So does junk food enter your house?
No, it does. I mean, I'd be kidding if I say it doesn't. So, but even the junk, like, we optimize now for saying like what qualifies as a junk. Like, when I was younger, I could, like, my favorite sweet used to be Kaju Barfi, and I could just finish half a kilo of Kaju Barfi if required in a day. And but now, take cashews, roast them with raisins, and we found like a nice way. I mean, it's still high calories, Because a cashew, I think 100 grams of cashew is like 650, 700 calories, right? So you can really add up calories like in no time. But at least it's just that, there's raisins and cashew. So you're not, otherwise I think like 30-40% of kaju barfi is really sugar, right? So you're kind of like, we figured, doing a bunch of these things. I mean, we have invested in a bunch of startups which are making less unhealthy sweets. I used to say healthier sweets, but now I say it's less, unhealthy, because I don't think there's anything called healthy sweets, so, which is, use as little of sugar. Like there's a chocolate company where, the cocoa butter, cocoa butter brings a lot of calories when you're making a chocolate.
Yeah.
Right? But there is a way to do it. It compromises a little on the taste, but it's not as big a compromise. But your calorie drop is significant. Like a 100 grams of one with a lot of cocoa butter and a lot of sugar, it's like 550, 600 calories. But you can get the same one with a monk sugar. Like monk sugar is the sugar made of monk fruit. So it's not really your sugar from jaggery. So it doesn't. And the way the sugar comes out of monk fruit is it's an enzyme.
Okay.
So it's like stevia in a way.
Right.
So it doesn't bring any calories to it. The problem, the reason I'm saying it's less unhealthy is because while there's a lot of study being done, no one knows the long-term problems of artificial sweeteners.
Right.
So I think at the end of the day, the real answer in all of this is you have to figure a way to do things in moderation, and that's where I think most of us go wrong, right? As in, like with me also the same thing. Like I'll diet from Monday to Friday. Saturday, Sunday, I get up feeling I have some leverage to maneuver, and then it just you end up doing. So I think. Like I don't think I've stopped blaming myself for this anymore. So I'm like, it's okay. I know that I'm gonna slip, but at least just be cognizant and get back on the track as soon as possible.
Like especially when it comes to children, I feel it's so difficult to
Control
keep them on this path. I remember initially when I started giving chocolates to my son, he's now 4. I used to make it at home. So I had the cacao seeds, and I would just put that and Akshayakalpa butter and jaggery.
Right.
And he would happily eat like 5-6 of those. And I was very happy, like eat as many as you want. And that was chocolate for him till he got introduced to real chocolate.
Right.
And now he's never going to go back to that. You
Yeah.
know? So what kind of conversations are you having with your son about food?
I mean, I think he knows a lot about like if you were to ask him how much in his plate. What is a balanced meal? He'll probably tell you how much protein, how much carbs. I mean, he's 8.5, 9. He wants to play football. So I have that as a, like a sweet spot. Like I said, have you seen how Ronaldo looks? And you think he became like that, without caring about the diet. So with Kian, the thing is, because he's had access to everything, he actively says no to chocolate. I'm like, dude, who says this? I mean, I'm like. Is it like normal? And because we never made it like too hard for him to get it, right? As in the sense, if you say don't have it, right? It's just I think it's a negative reinforcement, and then he'll want it every time he sees it. But we usually, me, Seema, and all, we keep talking about this conversation, right? And it's there. If chocolate's in the fridge and he doesn't eat it, and I'm like, is it? I mean, I'm very happy about it, but is it like normal, for a kid not to be going after chocolates, etc. I mean, the ice cream, he's sleeping. I'm like, do you want some ice cream? Like, no, I don't feel like eating ice cream. I'm like, what is this? Yeah. So, but I keep thinking, what is that maybe that we are doing right in the house is having these health conversations, right? It's just talking about food source, talking about what a bad diet can do to you. And these conversations within the house, I think it's somehow, even though he's quite young, he's probably picking on pieces and making conscious decisions of sorts. Also, I think, what I've also thought about, when I think about it, right, as in my childhood, there was no access to these things very easily, right? As in, there was no access to kaju barfi, or there was no access to dry fruits, there was no access to, I mean, I come from a middle class family, so it's not like I could go just buy chocolates all the time, right? So whenever you got access, right, your mind frame was, let me eat as much as possible. Like even today, right, if you put dry fruits in front of me, I just go after it. And I have no clue why I do, right? Because like I think, in my mind, right, I'm still in that same, like, how I was during my childhood days, where if someone sees, dry fruit, like, oh, it's so exotic, let me eat as much as possible, right?
Coming to Akshayakalpa, what's your favorite Akshayakalpa product?
Curds. No, I mean, there are times when I'm usually subscribed to Akshayakalpa, but there are times when there are no curds, and now it's on Instamart. So, I am like, usually I'll go to Instamart and, I usually love my curds with pomegranate. So, so I like that whole. And then I'm a Konkani, so we have this Midi Upinkai, right, which is like the small mango pickle, and yeah, that with some roasted nuts, and like just try to make it a balanced meal. Right?
What do you think is going to be the future of food?
Yeah, it is. So the thing is, while we hope, as a foundation also, right? I mean, we are supporting a bunch of people in the social sector. We're trying to entice people to reverse migrate and go back to smaller towns and villages and grow sustainably. I don't know. I don't know if that is a route humans will take, and because we've always historically always over time prioritize efficiency over everything else. So my guess is this whole industrialization of everything is going to just continue happening, and it's just that maybe the practices will change for the better, right? Because technology also is evolving quite fast in some of these things.
You touched upon reverse migration.
Right.
There's a statistic to say that the average age of a farmer in India today is 50.
Right.
There are no young farmers left in the villages.
Right.
And that's something that Akshayakalpa is working on,
Correct,
that. So the average age of a Akshayakalpa farmer, because of reverse, so about 35% of our farmers are people who have reverse migrated.
Nice.
And we are at around 35. The average age of Akshayakalpa farmers is around 35. So that's something that we're strongly, focusing on, and hoping that more and more young farmers feel like they want to stay back in the villages and they feel pride in that profession.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's if you can help people create an income, I think it'll come. And as I said, and the way that can happen is only if consumers are ready to pay a little more, because that you can never match an industrialized scale, right? As in, so I think, like I said, if people ask the right set of questions, there'll be a bunch of guys who'll say, I'm okay to pay a little bit of premium, and I want to stay away from industrialized, and okay, and I'll also support the farmer in turn. Because as a country, I think if we want to do well inclusively, I think everyone has to do well. You can't just do well in pockets. And so I think it's important to us saying that I want everyone who's in the food cycle of whatever I'm eating also is doing well some way financially as well.
So you heard about Good Food Movement and everything that we're trying to
Right.
do with it. What do you feel about?
No, I mean it's brilliant. I think, like I said, these conversations have to be mainstream. You have to seed the idea that to question the source of what goes into your body. At the end of the day, right? I mean, everything that we do in our lives, professionally, and going to college, going to school, I mean, eventually is to lead a good life, right? And that can only happen with good food. Right. And this is something we also attempt. Like personally, I also try to use every opportunity to seed the idea. Even within Zerodha, we have an inside like a forum, and where we are constantly talking about these conversations. And I think I don't know. There's no benchmark, but I think if I were to look at, we're around 1,200 people on our team. Maybe if we look at the simplest way to measure health is probably BMI, right? As in, it's not accurate, but I'm saying if you had to just take the simplest measure, and if you were to take BMI of our company and measure another company with 1,200 people, unlikely that there's going to be any other company.
Really?
Because we, internally it's so means. The thing is, when I think about our team, I'm saying we want this person to be with us for the rest of their life and enjoy the work, but also contribute meaningfully, right? And to be contribute meaningfully, you need to be healthy. There is no, I mean, it's almost stupid not to think about it, right? Because a person who's not healthy is not going to contribute meaningfully, right? And So yeah, so you could say for selfish reasons itself, I think talking about health is very important, and it's good that you're doing this, and I hope many more brands and companies do it.
Thank you so much for being a part of this conversation.
And best of luck with this initiative, and hopefully you can spread the word.